So limp was the Magpies' display that there were barely any positive on-field incidents of note. Yet the atmosphere, seen in United's performance at St James's Park, highlighted the dire situation in which Newcastle find themselves in with little more than 4 days remaining in the January window. After an abject first half from both sides on Saturday, Watford stepped up their performance during the second period, and strolled to a 2-0 victory thanks to goals from Andre Gray and Isaac Success. That result ensured Rafa Benitez's Magpies, for the 12th year in succession under Mike Ashley's ownership, failed to reach the 5th round of this competition once again. Despite the lack of notable action on the pitch from the Magpies, there were still some noteworthy incidents at St James's Park, as NUFC writer Chris Waugh details in his moments you might have missed from the game. Black armbands are worn with Salah still missing. Cardiff City's club record signing Emiliano Sala is still missing. His plane went off radar over the channel last weekend, and some Newcastle and Watford players chose to wear black armbands as a mark of respect towards the Argentine. Some opted against doing so, though, given that Salah has still yet to be found, with his family convinced the forward is still alive. Ashley doesn't bother turning up for the cup, leaving Charnley alone in the press box. Newcastle owner Ashley may have been at Stamford Bridge and then St James's Park for the Magpies' last 2 Premier League games, but the billionaire appeared to show where the FA Cup lies in his list of priorities once again. Having opted against visiting Ewood Park for the third-round replay with Blackburn Rovers, he skipped this tie with Watford, too. His trusted aide Justin Barnes and PR man Keith Bishop were both absent as well, leaving managing director Lee Charnley alone in the press box as the sole representative of the United hierarchy. Newcastle United's Kennedy appears frustrated during the FA Cup defeat to Watford. Image, Newcastle Chronicle. The anti-Ashley chants begin less than a minute in, and continue throughout. Even though Ashley was not present, that did not stop Newcastle fans from showing their displeasure at the owner once more. Clearly the collapse of the Jordan Lukaku deal has left fans frustrated, even if the failed medical was not necessarily United's fault. The lateness at which they are attempting to complete business has contributed to the anger on Tyneside, and the chants against the owner began inside 60 seconds. After 10 minutes, "If you hate Ashley stand up," chorused around the ground, too, and the discontent remained throughout the whole match. Jan Mata is made to feel unwelcome on his return to St James's Park during Newcastle's 1-1 draw against Watford in the Premier League at Vicarage Road last month. Former right-back Daryl Jan Mata received plenty of stick from travelling Toon fans. The same was true on Saturday as well, with Newcastle supporters booing the Dutchman every time he received possession. Match Report Player Ratings Rafa Press Conference Cole, NUFC is sinking ship. The first stoppage for a VAR check at St James's Park takes place although video assistant referee (VAR) technology was in place for the initial third-round tie with Blackburn. There were no stoppages for decisions to be reviewed during that game. However, inside 10 minutes of the clash with Watford, referee David Cute took a minute to step away from play and have an Isaac Hayden tackle on Jan Mata reviewed to determine whether it was inside or outside of the penalty area. The big screen at St James's Park in the Leazes End confirmed a VAR review was taking place, and eventually it was correctly ruled that Hayden's foul had been committed outside of the box, and so the decision to award a free kick was upheld. Ritchie and Joselu exchanged words as Newcastle struggled to find their rhythm. The frustrations at St James's Park were not confined to the stands, with Newcastle players also growing increasingly exasperated with one another. Midway through the first half, Joselu called on Matt Ritchie to pass him the ball down the line, so the left wing-back flicked it forward towards the Spaniard. Watford managed to intercept, however, with Joselu failing to retreat quick enough, leading Ritchie to exchange words with his Spanish teammate. Although it was difficult to determine precisely what Ritchie said to Joselu, the Scotland international was clearly unimpressed. Newcastle United's Ios Perez appears dejected at the final whistle following the defeat to Watford. Image, PA, Success calls for the physio as Joselu goes down injured when Ben Wilmot fouled Joselu in the centre circle. The Newcastle forward immediately appeared to be in pain. Without hesitation, Watford forward Success gestured to the United medical team to come out onto the field, with the Hornet clearly concerned for Joselu's welfare. Thankfully, after receiving treatment, Joselu was fine to continue, despite the initial concern. Watford fans clearly think the cup run is within reach while Newcastle are out of the cup before the fifth-round stage for the 13th season in succession. Watford fans are already dreaming of going the distance. After Gray had lashed the visitors ahead, the travelling Hornets fans immediately started singing, "We're going to Wembley." VAR is used once again, but a yellow, rather than a red, is issued midway through the second half. Watford midfielder Nathaniel Chalobah went in with a very strong challenge on Kennedy in the middle of the pitch. Cuda immediately realized it was a potential sending-off offence, and once again retreated to give the VAR official time to decide on the severity of the foul. It was certainly a borderline tackle, but Cuda issued a yellow card, rather than a red, following advice from his assistant who had consulted the technology. Boos ring out as Richie is replaced when Benitez finally brought on reinforcements in the 72nd minute via double substitution. A significant number of Newcastle fans were left unimpressed by his decision to remove Richie. Audible boos could be heard around St James's Park, before Richie himself was applauded off the field, to be replaced by Christian Atsu. Newcastle fans leave early in their thousands, before boos greet the full-time whistle as soon as Success slotted in Watford's second goal. Newcastle fans began leaving in their thousands, safe in the knowledge Newcastle would once again fail to reach the fifth round of the Cup. Those supporters who did stay made their feelings known after the full-time whistle, too, by booing what was a pathetic United display. Office sticks his hands in the air to applaud fans, but then heads straight down the tunnel normally following a home match. Regardless of the result, Benitez walks out onto the pitch in order to applaud supporters, as well as to acknowledge the visiting players. On Saturday, Benitez merely clapped in the air in his technical area, then headed straight down the tunnel, while the majority of Newcastle players did likewise, too. Christian Atsu and Watford head coach Javi Gracia did share a hug. The pair briefly worked together at Malaga, but aside from that, most Newcastle players seemingly did not feel the need to stay behind and applaud the remaining supporters.